Hello BookTube, it's Louise. How are you? It's Sunday the 31st of January, hope you're having a good day. It's a bit grey here, we've had quite a lot of rain, but I am here with my January wrap up. These are all the books that I have read in the month of January. They are the books that I've read or the audiobooks that I have listened to. I've had an excellent reading month. I have read 8 novels and I have listened to 2 books. This is probably because I had 2 weeks where I didn't really do a lot. The first week I was in a car accident, somebody went in the back of me at a roundabout, and so I didn't really do a lot for about 5 or 6 days afterwards. I was suffering with a bit of whiplash in my shoulder and my neck. All fine now, that week was what I needed to recover. I'm experiencing no pain now, it's absolutely fine. The only thing that we're having to deal with now is that our car died. So we're having to replace that, but good news, this week we should be getting our new car, hurrah. Then the following week I got a steaming, streaming, horrible lurgy of a cold where I really didn't want to do anything, so I sat on the sofa drinking hot mugs of tea, blowing my nose and reading. So hence the 8 books and the 2 audiobooks. First book I read, this was when I was feeling well and nobody had gone into the back of the car. The car was still alive, and this is Depraved Heart by Patricia Cornwell. This is the 22nd or 23rd in the Kay Scarpetta series. She is they're all crime novels and she's a pathologist. You're never going to start with this book, you're only going to start it before you're going to carry on reading it. It's a really quick read. I really like Kay Scarpetta. They are so formulaic. I don't mind that. I would say I think this one dragged a little bit. I wonder whether she's getting to the end of the Kay Scarpetta novels. I understand that she's tried her hand at other books, other novel types, and the ones that she has experienced, she has success with are the Kay Scarpetta, so therefore she keeps going back to it. Unfortunately, what she's started to do is to revive a plot line. She brings back a character that she killed off quite a while ago. If you read Flesh and Bone, the last one, you'll know who I'm talking about. She brought her back. I didn't think it was great. I mean, and also, God blimey, Kay Scarpetta has serious communication issues. Her communication between her and her husband, appalling. And so there was all of that. There was like lots of, I'm not going to tell you what's going along, I'm not going to ask the questions. There was a couple of chapters where we went into knee deep into trace evidence. And if I remember rightly, she does it in every single book. And every single book I think, oof, give it a miss, Patricia. Patty, please. But no, she still did it. And perhaps that's partly why I go back and reread them, and perhaps why I always buy the new one, is because they are so familiar and I know what I'm going to get. So I enjoyed it. Again, you're only the first couple of ones that she did, especially Postmortem, her first book, was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it broke the mould for these kind of books. So I recommend you start, if you're going to read any Patricia Cornwell, you read her first couple. The first one, Postmortem, or the second one, Body of Evidence, were really, really good. I think they're a bit passé now. The next 2 books I read were really quick pick-me-up books, and that was Beyond the Highland Mist and To Tame a Highland Warrior. These are the first 2 in the Highlander series by Karen Marie Moning. They're really good. They're paranormal romance set in the 1600s. With a modern day twist. I really like them. They're just easy reads when you want something that you don't have to worry about, that you just want to be transported to the Highlands of Scotland with hunky men. And some days, that's what I fancy. Then I read, if you watch any of BookTube at the moment, oh my word, I honestly don't think you can start BookTube or you can join BookTube until you have got a copy of this, because everybody's reading it. So therefore I did buy it. It is a science fiction novel. The telling point, the difference with this book, I think I showed it in a haul, is the fact it's written as a case file. So it's got emails, text messages, it's got case file documents. This is as though all the events happened years ago, and this is the case file to it. When I was reading it, I got utterly hooked into it. I get completely drawn into it, and I completely understood why there is so much hype. And I really did enjoy it. By the way, I forgot to say it's by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And I really did enjoy it, and I would recommend it to anybody. It's especially good if you don't read science fiction, because it is so thrilling as a a space opera. The story is that a mining planet, one morning is a ship appears, or several ships appear above a mining planet, and they proceed to blow it up. And so it's all the survivors, all the people trying to get off. This focuses on two teenagers, Ezra and Cady. The twist is they broke up that morning. But they are survivors. They're on different ships for each other, and it is their story, and it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I would say though, with some of the YA fiction that you read, you can, as you're reading it, it's brilliant and it's lovely, and you can just zoom through it. Afterwards, like a week or two ago, this is I probably read this 3 weeks ago. You can't remember bits of it, and you start seeing enormous plot holes. So I think when you're reading it, it's fabulous, and I still would recommend it, and I would still have given it, a big woohoo, it's great, especially after I read it. But it is a bit silly. And I guess that's the thing that comes after a while. You go, bit silly. But I did really enjoy it. So it's Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it to anybody. If you find a copy of this and you think, what shall I read? I want to try science fiction. Then a YA science fiction book is always a good place to start. And I would recommend that. Okay, cracking on. This was the first book that I read this month that I just adored, and this is called Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. I got this from my book club Secret Santa. I was thrilled. I couldn't remember why I was thrilled. It's beautiful, but the other reason is because I remembered reading about it, and this book sparked off an enormous bidding war. Actually, Pam Macmillan got it in the end. People just wanting, the publishers just desperate for it. It's actually an Australian she's a mid-20s author. It says Northern Iceland, 1829. A woman condemned to death for murdering her husband. A family forced to take her in. A priest tasked with absolving her. This is Agnes's story. It's literary fiction. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, it's captivating, it's evocative. It's all the things that you want from historical fiction. When historical fiction is at its best, you truly understand that emotions never change. The historical trappings is all that it is. They're just trappings around us, and that the human heart was the same in 1829 as it is today. And that is what that book does for me. It was brilliant. It was one that I had to read during the day because it had an element of grit and reality, and I was slightly taken aback at how much it did affect me. It was wonderful. Burial Rites. I recommend that for anybody. I thought it was wonderful. The next book I read actually was, again, for my book club for this month, Station 11 by Emily St John Mandel. Again, a science fiction novel that I would recommend for people that if don't read a lot of science fiction and that you would like to give it a go, then this is a fantastic one. Very good introduction into science fiction. It is a post-apocalyptic tale, which I didn't fully realise when I picked it up and when I recommended it, and I probably might well have not suggested it had I known that. Just because they're not my favourite. And it did have echoes of the road for me. In some of the language, in some of the description, I got echoes of the road, but it had more of a human feel to it, and more of a cultural feel to it, in the fact that it had an awful lot about Shakespeare and plays, and I really enjoyed it. It was a quick read for me. I read this within 24 hours. I would need to have reread it. I would need to read it in that kind of time span, because otherwise it's got quite a quiet tone. And I didn't find it... I found it gripping because I was reading it quickly. Whereas I think if you try to make it a long, drawn-out read, you would lose the feel of it. It's that kind of quiet. But I still thought it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad I read it, and I would recommend that to anybody. The last two books I read, looking at the time, are Cinder. This is not a fairy tale, you remember, but it's one you won't forget, by Marissa Meyer. And then I read the second book in the series, which is Scarlet. So the front cover of Cinder actually looks like this. This is a book proof that I found in a charity shop for 50p. Oh, it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I did not expect it to be like this. It is a futuristic fairy tale. There are 4 of them in the series. Cinder is obviously Cinderella. It's great. It's great. It's got YA. I don't know if it's YA or if it's more middle grade. I don't know. But I really, really enjoyed it. I read it so quickly. It's one that you read in gallops. I halfway through, I did suddenly go, God, this is ridiculous. And then I remembered, it's a fairy tale retelling. Of course it's ridiculous. Don't be so silly. I think I'd probably just read Burial Rites and I was deep into naturalistic, realistic feelings. And then I read this. So no wonder my brain couldn't cope with it. But yes, I thought this was brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. And I was dying to know what happened. You know, it's Cinderella, you know what's going to happen. But there was enough going on with the world building. There's enough else going on that I wanted to know how it finished, how her story, Cinder's story develops. So I was thrilled when I found out that Cinder carries on, and Scarlet, which is Little Red Riding Hood retelling, her and her wolf. I found this one harder. I was much more interested with the Cinder stories in this book than I actually was that bothered about Scarlet and Wolf. Scarlet herself I found truly irritating. It had second book syndrome all over it, which was a real shame, and I didn't expect it. I had heard quite a lot of people, when they talk about the Lunar Chronicles, say that Cinder or Cress, which is the third one, are their favourites, and that the Cress is the one that they all talk about. So I'm looking forward to I shall continue with the series. But this 5-6 days, which for me is quite a long read for something like this. So I was surprised at how long it took me to read this, but I did really enjoy it in the end. And about kind of 3/4 of the way through, I thought, I'm in, God, you know. And I actually really appreciated Scarlet, and I really appreciated Wolf and their complexity of their relationship. Not a lot, but you know, it was good. But yeah, so I recommend these. I recommend these for really daft science fiction, and you just want something that's really fun and silly, and you want to know what everybody else is talking about. It's great. It's great, and I recommend it to teenagers. Go for it. They're really good. So the 2 audiobooks that I listened to in January are Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and then, of course, it had to be done. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And how irritating is that? I have 6 editions with this cover, and then I got the adult cover. All hardbacks. Look at that. So anyway, I listened to that. Oh, look, I suddenly realised I've got the lovely JK on the back. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Deathly Hallows. I don't know how many times I cried. And it made me realise that I've not actually read Deathly Hallows through for quite a few years. I mean, I wonder whether I've reread it. I've, of course, seen the films a couple of times, and so I'm wondering whether I think I know the story from that one first read and then the subsequent films, because there was so much of it that I had forgotten, so many little details that are not in the films that I had forgotten. And listening to it in audio, I really got the feeling. Of course, it was the magnificent Stephen Fry narrating the 2 books, and they are gorgeous. They are absolutely gorgeous. I have an Audible subscription, so they were much cheaper for me. I do recommend that as a way to listen to them. Oh, just fabulous. So yeah, so that was it. I was bereft. So at the end, when I had left, the last couple of minutes, I felt bereft, and I have since I've stopped listening to it, felt absolutely bereft that I'm no longer in the magical world, and I just want to go to Hogwarts, and I want to go and meet them all, and I wonder what happened to all the characters at the end of it, and it was glorious. So that was a fabulous January month. So there we go, there's my books. So I read 8, listened to 2, a mixed bag, of course, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'm on the go with a couple of books at the moment, so I look forward to reading those in the next month. We've also got half term, in which case we're going to go away for that, so I hope to get some more reading in that. What about you? What's your February looking like? Have you got a book on the go at the moment, or is there a book that you're planning on reading in February? Perhaps a romantic novel? Who knows? Well, it's been lovely chatting to you, BookTube. Come back again. Let's do this again. Obviously not January, but let's do this again at the end of February. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.